everybody, it's Alyce-Kay at Threshold F&80. Do you know what today is? Today is bookbinding day. I am so excited because this is when this little baby, this big baby, becomes an actual book. We are going to bind it. And I know that sounds kind of intimidating, and when you watch me, it also might seem intimidating, but when you do it for the first time, you're going to go, oh my word, that was so easy. All right, and it gets easier every time that you do it, okay? It takes me now probably 5 minutes, maybe 10, to bind a book. That's it. It's just really easy. It'll probably take a lot longer for me to show you and explain it. And it'll probably take you a little bit longer your first time, but after you understand how to do it, it's not at all difficult. Okay, so here's what you need. You need something to bind it with. Okay, twine I had mentioned, or like I'm gonna use this leather, whatever it's called, leather thong or something, whatever. Okay, and I've already cut off what I needed because it was really hard to get out of there. If you want something to go in the very center, you'll see what I'm doing. I usually put lace, but I'm gonna use cheesecloth, I think. You need some binder clips. Okay, they can be bigger. If they're bigger than this, it's actually easier. That's just the size that I have. You need a really big needle. Ooh, that one's rusty. I don't want to use that one. A really big needle, big enough to put whatever you're binding with through it. Okay. You need an awl. You need an awl. I mean, seriously, you guys, don't try doing it without it because it's so much harder without it, and this is not very expensive. Okay, and then if you want to hang charms or beads from the bottom, then get those out too. Okay, and I think that's it. I think that's all that we need. So I'm going to set these things aside for now. We need our book, of course. Oh, the other thing that you need is something to actually do this on. You're going to be pushing your awl through all that paper, and you're going to be pushing down hard. So you want something, do you see these holes that I've made in here? You want something that's soft enough for you to push into, but hard enough to keep it from damaging your table. This happens to be part of the log siding, I guess you'd call it, on our house up at Cane Creek. But I've seen, mostly what I see people do is use the inside of a book that they're taking apart. Like I could use my novel, my first novel, it's out of print because I've rewritten it and I don't want anybody reading the original because it's not as good. So I could use this if I wanted to do that. Usually they like tear off the cover and then they've got that. So you could do that, but I really like this. This works very, very well for me. So I'm going to have this. So I'm going to set that aside for now because I'm going to show you the other stuff that we have to do to get ready. Okay, so the first thing that we need is I'm gonna show you with the twine because it's just easier to show you with the twine than with this leather stuff. The first thing that you need is your binding material. So you're going to do 3 times the size of your book. Okay, like that. Let me do that again because I don't think I was in camera. Okay, so we're gonna do 3 times 1, 2, and ignore the knot that's in there, 3 times. Okay, now I always do extra because I'm going to dangle beads off the end, so I'm going to do 4 times that amount. And you'll probably end up with enough extra that you can actually trim it off, but just to be sure that you have enough, that's what I do. Now I'm not going to cut this because I'm not binding it with twine. Oh, my twine ball is all coming apart. Poor thing. I want to put that back and put my glue standing up in it. That's how I keep it from getting all difficult to use. Okay, so I'm going to set everything else aside for now. The first thing that you need to do, and this is a super, super important step, you're going to be so tempted to skip it, but it's really important. The first thing you need to do is you need to go page by page through your book and make sure that everything is right side up, because it's really easy at some point to get all of your signature upside down, like that. Or let's say you were working on these pages right here, you know, or you're working on this page, so you should get out. and you have the rest stuck here, you know, so then you come back with it, you're done, and you put these ones in upside down without realizing it. Okay, that happens all the time. I've heard so many horror stories about people binding their books with some of the pages upside down. So you want to, see, look, I've got it upside down. So you want to go through and make sure that every single page is right side up. Now, all of our pages are pretty much the same size, so we don't have to worry about this too much. I mean, we do have to worry about things being right side up, but the next thing I'm going to say to you, if you're doing a journal that has pages that are lots of different sizes, like where's my Tennessee journal? Well, here it is. Okay, so for example, this journal has pages that are different sizes. So I've got, here's a thing to go in it. Okay, so like I've got this one here. See, it's not as big as the others, so I decided to center it. I've got a doily that's bigger than anything else. I have some pages, let me see if I can find them, that are like really small. Okay, like this one's small, and I decided to have this one down towards the bottom, but then I've got others that I've got up more towards the top. Okay, and they're just, you know, you just want to make sure that they're where you want them to be. So we're going through looking for two things. We're looking to make sure that everything is right side up, and we're going through to make sure that it's in the place that we want it to be in the book, which is not a problem with this book. We want everything to be in the same place, right? So we're just going to have that like that. Okay, and then the last thing that you're going to do is, while you're going through, admire your work, because it is really good, because you guys, we've been working really hard on this, right? Okay, so we open this up, and I love this page. I am so excited about that. So I'm really glad that I decided at the last minute to add envelopes. I don't know if I told you, but I hadn't been planning to have that. Okay, so everything's right side up here, right? We have an envelope at the top. Okay, I don't usually do that at the top. Gotta flip up here. We can, and get out any extra junk. If you have cards already in any of your flips or pockets, take them out and set them aside. I haven't had you put any in yet, so you probably don't, but just in case you did some ahead of time, take them out and set them aside. And anything else that might get caught, like sometimes I'll have a fabric flap, like in my Tennessee one, and we're not having one in this one, but in my Tennessee one, I have a fabric flap here, okay, and in my orange one I have lace. So I would push this aside like this, because I don't want this to end up getting in the binding. Okay, does that make sense? But it's already sewn on, so, and it has to be sewn on before you bind it, because it's, you can't put it in the machine, sewing machine, after you bind it. That's really hard. Okay, so just making sure everything's right side up here. Nothing is upside down. I still have to add the letters, but that's okay. That's not a problem. Okay. And this is supposed to be at the top. This is a top flip there, so that's okay. This is a corner flip. This is the right way. This is a top tuck. These are all right. And when we get to the middle, if everything's right, the rest should be, but we still want to check it just to be certain. Okay, so there's our timeline. We want to pull that all out because we don't want that to get bound in the center of it, and it's going to be a little bit of a pain. Where are my paper clips? Here's, let me grab a couple paper clips. Let's paper clip that out of the way. Okay, because we don't want to end up binding that in so that we can't open it, right? That would be really bad, right? Okay, so we want to pull those out. Okay, and we're going to leave them out right now while we finish flipping through. Okay, and this stuff, I'm actually probably going to end up trimming some of this. I think there's too much there, but that can be done after it's bound, and it's better to do it after it's bound. Okay, make sure this, make sure all of this is where we want it to be. Very good. Is that, oh, that's the side. Okay, and there's the top. Okay, I just want to make sure this was the right way. Because after this, I mean, you can unbind it, you guys. It's not the end of the world. You can unbind it, but you don't want to have to do that. You want to get it right the first time. There we go. Good. Okay, so I'm also going to go back to where we had Abraham and Sarah's journeys, and I want to make those come out too. Okay? So everything's in the right order. So now what we want to do is we want to go into the center. We want to get these all lined up. Okay, now my envelope pages are a little bit taller, remember, and that's okay. We're going to go into the center, and it's kind of hard to show, but I'm going to push it in right there. Okay, I want it to be really tightly pushed in, and this is where your binder clips come in. You are going to sure is that in right? Yeah. You just don't want anything to be taller than the cover, hopefully. Okay, so you're going to bind this with the binder clips. You're going to take the binder clip here and just bind it like that, okay? To hold it, because you want to hold it as tight as you can so that all this is put in together. And this is a really thick one, you guys. I don't know, this may be the thickest one I've ever done. So it's kind of hard. If you have bigger binder clips, it will be easier for you. Okay, so don't just go get the small ones like I have. This is just what I have on hand, and I'm too cheap to go and buy new ones, even though they have them at the Dollar Tree. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so terrible. I just don't like to spend money. Okay, so then here's... But if you're on a budget, that's good, right? Because then you know that I'm having you do everything the least expensive way. Okay, so then we're going to bind it down here on this side of the center also. And that's my alarm to get up in case I was still napping, but I'm not. Okay, so here, we're just going to have that musical accompaniment. Hopefully it's not going to drive you crazy. Okay, so there we go. So this is the center, all right? Oh, that's right. Okay, I messed that up because I was not thinking. Okay, so when we can bind one side when it's open like this, but the second side we want to do while it's closed. Okay, and you kind of need 3 hands because what I'm doing here, it's hard to show you, but what I'm doing is I'm pushing in on the center while I'm closing it. Okay, but you're going to want to close it as much as possible before you put on these last 2 binder clips. So can you see what I'm doing? I'm making it look really awkward too because I'm trying to keep it in the camera. So if you're not trying to keep it in the camera and you're not explaining to people, it's a lot faster and easier. And hopefully I won't totally mess it up because I'm doing this. My dogs hear my alarm going off and they're barking. Everybody's going nuts. Get up, Mom, get up. Even though they saw me just a few minutes ago. Okay, so now we've got that all done. And now we can close the cover too. So we want to close it all and we want to make sure that it's as close to being centered as possible. Okay, then, and I may have to stand up to do this because that's what I usually do. Okay, but I'll try not to. So what we're going to do, this is going to be on the inside, but you're not going to be able to see. So I'm going to show you. We're going to make 3 holes. You know what? Hold on. I'm going to go turn off that alarm because it's going to drive us all nuts. And hopefully I won't trip over anything on my way. Oh, sorry guys. I am hurrying as fast as I can. Okay, I'm on my way back. I am so sorry about that. I didn't even realize that it had gotten so late. And so I didn't even realize that that alarm was going to go off. Okay, so if that's for me to get up if I was still napping. Between Lyme and allergies, I've been not feeling very good, but I'm feeling a lot better right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make 3 holes from the inside, pushing all the way out right in the center. Okay, we want to make 1 in the middle, and you can just eyeball it. You don't need to measure it, okay? The first couple times that I did it, I measured it, and that was just silly. So you're going to make one in the middle, and then you're going to make one about here and one about here. Okay, so maybe even a little bit closer. All right, so I'm going to stand it up so it's on end like this. I don't know if I can do it so that it's facing you. I'll try that. I'm not sure if I can do it that way, but we'll see. Okay, and I'm sorry, but I may have to get in on the picture because I've got to stand up. So I'll try to stay out of the picture because I don't have makeup on and I look really bad, but whatever. It's real life, right? Okay, so I'm going down into the center. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm like as close as possible to the center of the book, and I'm pushing down really, really hard. Okay, so I'm pushing down hard and I can feel it going into the wood. So then while I'm doing that, I turn it on its side. Can you see that coming through? Okay, I'm going to push it a little ways through so that there's a nice size hole for my needle. And see, I didn't get it exactly in the center, but that's okay. It truly, truly is okay. And when we put the binders on, I'm going to leave that all in there to hold it in place. When we put the binders on, we were supposed to get the cover too. Silly, silly me. Okay, seriously. Alyce-Kay. What were you thinking? Okay, so let me get the cover bound in there too, because we don't want it to move around any more than we want anything else to move around. This is to keep everything in place while you're binding it. See, so already I've taken a lot longer than I normally would for the entire process. So I just want you to know, because I don't want you to feel like overwhelmed and intimidated by this whole thing, because it's really pretty easy. Okay, then I'm going to just work this out. I'm not going to work it all the way out. I'm working it most of the way out. I'm going to get this stood back up. Okay. And then holding it still together as much as possible. It's hard with these extension things here for the timeline. I'm going to move down, and I'm going to move it like halfway between the middle where I did the hole and the bottom of the book. Okay, I'm going to just do the same thing. One hole all the way through. You do have to push hard, okay, but you feel it going through to the wood, and then I'm pushing it in. You don't want to have your hand or your finger in the way, because man, it'll go through all of a sudden and you'd probably like impale your hand. Okay, so see, I've got that. Can you see that? See that right there? Okay, and then I'm going to put it back up so it's standing on end. I'm just kind of, ooh, did I tear something? I might have torn something, hopefully not. I've never torn anything before, but this time it's more difficult because of all our timeline extensions and everything. So if you have a difficult time with this because of that, don't give up on junk journals. It's just, I've made it difficult by having this timeline. But I think we're going to be happy that we have it. Okay, so then I'm going to make another hole going the other direction, halfway between that hole in the middle and the top. Okay, about, you know, I'm just eyeballing it. Just eyeballing it, and then pushing it through here, pushing it through the fabric. Okay, and then pulling it back out. Okay, then we're all done with our awl. We're all done with our awl. Leave the binder clips on. Okay, now here's where we're going to get our, whatever you're using to bind it. I'm using leather, and your needle. Okay, thread your needle. And you don't want to do it, you know, like half and half. You just want to have it like maybe that far through. Okay, or actually maybe a little bit farther than that. You want to have it so that it's like hanging from the center down, like maybe about that far. If you're going to do dangles, maybe not quite that far. If you're going to do dangles, okay? And we're going to end up cutting some off, and we're going to need some for a knot and all that stuff. So, you know, don't think, oh, my dangles aren't, I don't want them down that far. It takes more to do it. Ooh, this slipped out of the binder clips, so it might be a little bit harder for me. Okay, so I'm going to go through this middle hole with my needle, and hopefully it hasn't moved around a whole lot because of the binder clips. Nope, it came right through. See that? Nifty, nifty, nifty. Okay, so you got to kind of work it through, but hopefully you went up pretty far on your awl, and that's why you want to go up, so you can make it big enough for this part of the needle. Okay, now this long tail here, I'm going to leave hanging right there. It's longer than what I'm going to want eventually for my beads. Okay, can you see that? It's longer than what I'm going to eventually want for my beads. Okay, then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it through the top hole, which when you're doing it in fabric, sometimes it's a little hard to see exactly where that is. Okay, and yeah, see, because my binders came loose, my binder clips came loose, I'm having a hard time finding where the hole is in the pages. Crud. Normally it's not that hard, but because my binders came loose, it's a little difficult. I'm going to try, I don't want to punch a new hole, but I'm hoping that I can find it by putting the awl back through. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to stick the needle through the hole, and if I need to, I can like take it all apart and stick it through one page at a time, but you shouldn't have to, especially if you've got, get bigger binder clips than what I'm using. That's like the moral of the story. I've never had a problem with it before, but that's why I'm having a problem with it now, because it has come loose. Okay, and then I'm pulling this through, and you kind of have to wiggle it a bit. I probably should have pushed the awl through a little bit farther. Okay guys, come on. Of course it's going to be difficult because I'm on video. It's going to make me totally wrestle it. Come on, it's coming through. It'll be through. Oh, for Pete's sake. I've never had this happen. Oh, of course it's going to do this when I'm videoing it. Okay, so you guys, it's like stuck. It does not want to go through. That's so funny. Okay, I'm going to unbind this so that I can push it through individual pages. This is a lot more difficult, you guys, than usual because of the timeline thing that I've got going on here. Oh, it might also be because of the fabric holding the two envelopes together. I bet that's part of it. No, it's through that. I'm not sure what's holding it up. There we go. Okay. So see how we've got it through two? Oh, it made a knot. That's why. Okay, so we're going to pull it. Now you want to pull it tight, but you've got to hold this other end so you don't pull it through. Okay, and already it's come through a little bit farther than I want, so I've got to pull it back so that I've got enough dangling down there so I can have my beads that I really, really want because I love having the beads. Okay, so we've got those two pieces. We're pulling it tight. We're going to check and make sure that it's pulled tight back here. See that? That looks kind of cool, right? Okay, then we're going to go back down through the middle, through that middle hole, that same hole where we went through before, and come out the exact same place. You see that? And by the way, this is called a pamphlet stitch because it's how they used to sew pamphlets together. Okay, and if you can't figure this out from my tutorial, feel free. I might even link a couple of other good tutorials showing you. I would recommend probably Gail Agustinelli and Nick the Booksmith as being the best people to watch how to do this. So seriously, if you can't figure it out from mine, go to theirs. Okay, now I cannot see, and if you've got big clips and it's holding okay, then leave it clipped because that's the best way. But I cannot see where my hole is here. So let's see if we can find it with the awl. You guys, honestly, I've never had this much trouble. This is crazy. This is really funny. Okay, where's the hole? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to go through that. I'm not punching a new hole. I'm going through the exact same hole that was there, but I'm pushing it up farther in hopes that I'm not going to have the same trouble with the needle. Okay, and pushing it through there. It's coming up through the center. Hopefully you can see this all. Oh my goodness, why is it having such a hard time? Like I said, I've never had such a difficult time. And hopefully you won't. I don't know if maybe you put soap on the needle, if that might help. I don't know what's holding it up. Okay, come on. You can do it. I have to cheer my dog to get through this, to get him up the steps to get back into the kitchen these days. And I actually do like, go bananas, B-A-N-A-N-A-S, and he sits there wagging his tail, stands there wagging his tail, but he's got really bad arthritis. And then if it's dark, he has cataracts too, so it's really hard for him to see. Okay, so you want to check in the back there. Make sure everything's pulled tight. Okay, see how this end hasn't come through yet, so we want to make sure we pull that through. Okay, we're not done yet. We're almost done though. Okay, and this end has gotten loose, so we're going to pull it here by this other thing so that it's nice and tight both places. Okay, so that's nice and tight. I wish I had another book to show you how much easier it is if you know what you're doing normally. Okay, so this is what we've got. So now here's the next part, and it's really easy. No more going through holes. We're gonna go underneath this part here. We're gonna pull this out of the way, this loose piece, we're pulling it out of the way, and we're just gonna go underneath there and pull it out. Okay, and then we can take it off the needle, which just makes life a lot easier and happier. Put it back in my pin cushion. Is that still long enough? Yeah, it is. Okay, before I tie the knot, I'm just gonna double check and make sure that everything everywhere is nice and tight and snug, because I don't want these pages to be loose. I want them to be pulled in nice and tight. Okay, let me get rid of this board because it's kind of in the way here too and probably making it hard for you to see. Okay, I'm going to pull it nice and tight, and then I'm going to tie a knot. And ideally these would both be the same length, but they hardly ever are in my cases. Okay, and then this is where I like to put something in between it just to make it kind of pretty. I'll probably wish when I'm doing the timeline that I don't have that there, but I'm going to anyway. I can always cut it out or pull it out. I just think it looks cool. I saw Gail Augustinelli do this one time, and I know she said that she learned it from somebody else too. I mean, a lot of these things, nobody knows who started them. You know, it's just we all learn them from different people, from our favorite people to watch. Okay, so there we have it. We can unpaperclip this, and before we do our beads, we're going to go through, especially because of the trouble that I had, we're going to go through and just check and make sure everything is okay. And it may not be exactly perfectly straight, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? Okay, wow, yes. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's really, really good. Everything's looking good so far. Here's our fabric where we, put that together. And you could use a piece of paper that matches it instead if you want, if you don't want it to show, but I kind of like it to show. I like it looking homey and loved, and like somebody who wasn't a professional did it, especially somebody like from back in Abraham's time or something. So I'm just going through and I'm kind of making sure that nothing got caught in a place that it shouldn't. Okay, and if you have cards that you took out of it, you could put those back in right now. But this is why I don't do the cards until after I've bound it. I just do all my stuff that I would sew in and glue in that would be hard to do once it's bound. Okay, so here, and I want to make sure that yes, it survived. I was afraid maybe I had torn it or something. Okay, so it's still doing great. There's our timeline. Okay, so this is looking good, and we're still going to do the beads, so don't go away just yet. Unless you don't want beads dangling from yours, you don't need to. You can just cut it if you want. The other thing is that if you don't want to have, oops, oh look, we'll do something with that. We're not going to cut it because that'll cut our binding. I've never had that happen either. That's funny. Okay, that was some of the leather binding stuff. Okay. I mean, I could sit there and pick that knot apart in the center and then pull it through again, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to think of some creative way to actually use that. Okay, so what I was trying to say was if you don't want this in the center, okay, you could instead start on the outside and put your needle through here and do the exact same thing, but do it from the outside, which in some ways is easier. And I have done that a few times, and then I can have like a bow on the outside, or I can hang dangles from here. You know, but I really like hanging it from the inside, and especially because we're doing the timeline, we want it to be easy to find the timeline. So, so that's why I wanted to go ahead and bind it from the inside, because it just helps us to find that center fold really easily. Okay, so let me just put these things away.